It's the final show before game one of the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. The Battle of Northern California, the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings. I got Kylen Mills with me. Your final preview is next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and more specifically, the FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. You can follow Kylen Mills on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Kylen Mills. It's her name. It's super easy. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at Dog Surf Roadshow. Kylen, it is great to see you. Happy Friday. It's a Friday night extravaganza. Northern California is buzzing. Everyone is talking about Warriors and Kings. How are you feeling about it? This is our last preview show. What are your thoughts? How many games? Who's going to win? Anything that's sticking out to you? Take it away, Kylen. Great to see you.
Good to see you, Cyrus, and thanks everyone for hanging out with us on a Friday night live edition. Warriors fans, get your sleep, rest up tonight. Tomorrow night is a big night. It's a big day. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm very, very curious to see how this is going to shake out. My prediction has been teetering between Warriors in 5 and 6 all week, the last couple weeks, or at least 2 weeks when it looked like the Warriors were going to stack up against the Kings. Great news in the last day. Andrew Wiggins was cleared for game one. So that is something huge that helped really boost my spirits and my outlook for the team in the series. It was believed that he was going to be back, but now we know for sure. So good news. Yeah. He's been able to get back in shape. I know, Cyrus, you mentioned he'd been working out, but maybe wasn't in great game shape when he came back, or basketball shape, according to some sources and what they told you. So clearly he's had the time. This extra week was huge. Now he's back. So that completely changes the complexion of the Warriors. They've got one of their best defenders back, a great 3-and-D guy, and the Warriors are as healthy as they've been all season going into the playoffs. That's scary for other teams. This is a team with championship experience. It's the same starters that won a championship last season. And now they've got more of their role players healthy, in a groove. Jonathan Kuminga playing way better than he did to start the season. Dante DiVincenzo worked in with this group. And then Gary Payton II you added with that trade before the deadline. So you're looking at 3 really strong players in addition to Jordan Poole, who was already the 6th guy off the bench. So suddenly that 9-man rotation is looking great. And I think the Warriors are going to take this.
I'm totally with you. My prediction is Warriors in 6. If I'm wrong and it's Warriors in 5, I'm happy with that. I could care less if I miss the prediction, as long as the Warriors come out on top. I have no shame about my bias here. I'm born and raised Warriors fan and happy with that. For the people that are nervous, don't be. The Warriors will win this series as long as they're healthy. I don't see any reason why they're not going to win the title. I don't see any teams in the Western Conference that are going to beat the Warriors in a 7-game series. I just don't see it. The NBA Finals, I also think the Warriors will win it all, but it might be a little tricky if the Bucks get in there. I still think the Warriors are the best team. Do you have a prediction for the NBA title yet? Is it too soon for you?
Too soon. I don't want to go that far. And teams like the Warriors are the teams that are the big question marks, because as much as the Warriors have struggled throughout the season, they click at the right time and they're a team that could go all the way. And that's why I feel like it's really tough right now to predict, because honestly, I think the Warriors are in good shape to make a run.
I'm totally with you. And I just look at the opposition and just no one sticks out to me as a legitimate threat. I mean, the Warriors kept the same team for the most part. I mean, you lost Otto Porter Jr., but you got Dante DiVincenzo. You lost Nemanja Bjelica, who was, in my opinion, was grossly underrated in terms of his impact. But then you got Jonathan Kuminga emerging as a full-time rotation piece. Moses Moody actually improved. I hope we see Moody. I think more importantly, what we saw from Steve Kerr's rotations the final 3 games, if we see that in the postseason, they're going to be fine. If we start seeing chicanery from him, if we suddenly start seeing him messing with rotations again, experimenting in the playoffs, I don't know what's going to happen. But as long as we see what we saw those last 3 games, I'm going to be super happy. I'm feeling great about it. Is there anything that sticks out to you in terms of matchups? Like, I'm looking at this as being a really one-sided series in terms of the matchup battles, just because regardless of what the matchup is, the Warriors win it. I mean, let's say for the sake of argument here, right? We're doing a talk show. Starting fives. Warriors starting five versus Kings starting five. Stephen Curry's better than De'Aaron Fox. Klay Thompson is better than Herter. Andrew Wiggins and Harrison Barnes may be a wash just because Wiggins might be rusty a little bit, but that's one of the closest battles. In terms of Keegan Murray versus Draymond Green, easily Draymond Green. You can give the nod to Sabonis, I guess, in terms of centers, but even then,
I guess Sabonis is definitely a better center than Kevon Looney. But
fair,
I will say,
fair.
I feel like there's been a lot of Looney disrespect on Twitter from some Kings fans who are basically saying, Sabonis is going to be able to walk all over him. I don't think that's going to be the case. Iron Loon is going to give him some problems, and I think he will do his best to lock him down. But I do think Sabonis has the edge there. But at the same time, I don't think it's going to be an easy, matchup where he's going to walk all over him. Like, if
Fair.
you think that, to me, you have not been watching Kevon Looney all season, and he has been a monster on the boards. The Warriors are going to need that from him in this series.
No, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing: I don't think Kevon Looney is gonna have that matchup in the important minutes of the games. Right? Draymond
Mhm.
Green will be the one defending
Dre, yep.
Sabonis.
Hmm.
And we saw what Green has done against other bigs. I mean, he handled Nikola Jokic last year, arguably the best big in terms of skill set and impact in the game. No offense to Joel Embiid, but Jokic is a beast in and of himself. I mean, he's the reigning two-time MVP, and Draymond handled that. If he can handle Jokic, I don't see Sabonis being a problem. There's also the fact that I think the Kings are a little overrated. 48 wins is not exactly something to go home and brag to mom about. I mean, 48 wins is what the Warriors had in their, we believe, second season when they didn't make the playoffs. That's how deep the West was that year. And they finished just 4 games ahead of the Warriors in the overall standings. A lot of people are holding on to these regular season stats as a reason for the Warriors maybe having maybe they should be a little careful. Maybe they shouldn't be overconfident. And, Bruce Morrow, for example, I love that you're a regular listener. Love you, Bruce. You're right. I like the confidence, but we need to have appropriate fear and not inappropriate confidence. I don't think it's inappropriate at all to think that the Golden State Warriors are going to take care of business handily. This is a team. I still feel the Warriors are grossly underrated when we look at the last 10 years, more specifically the last 8 years. They didn't just win 4 titles in 8 years. They also won 6 Western Conference titles in 8 years. And the 2 years they didn't, they were either completely decimated by injury or they just had a ridiculously thin roster. I'm referring to 2021 when we had guys like Brad Wanamaker, Kent Bazemore starting and playing heavy minutes. So this Warriors team is so good. I mean, when you look at the annals of history, they're right at the top. They're right up there with the Bulls, with the Celtics, with the Lakers. I don't think it's irrational at all. Meanwhile, and then you look at the Sacramento Kings, a team that won 48 games. All right, if we're going to put a lot of weight in the regular season, 48. Okay, that's not a lot. And they haven't been in the playoffs since 2006. Experience does matter, and the Warriors are full of it, and the Kings are not in that department. I think the Warriors are deep. I'm feeling great about it. I'm convincing myself verbally to say Warriors in 5. I'm still going to stick with 6. Am I sounding crazy, Kylen? Am I sounding overly biased? Your reaction to that, please.
I don't think you're sounding crazy, but I do think you're taking it too far and saying that the Kings are overrated. I mean, I think as a 3 seed, they are a 3 seed. I don't think they're overrated at all. And I think they do have the capability to give the Warriors some problems. I mean, at the end of the day, this is the top offense in the NBA, top scoring offense, the best offensive efficiency, best assist to turnover ratio. I mean, up and down the stat sheet, what they've been doing offensively is electric. They're playing under the NBA Coach of the Year. I mean, Mike Brown has proven his genius this season. He's a guy who brought in a ton of experience. He's honestly been one of the keys to the Warriors championships the last several seasons.
Yep.
And now he's all of a sudden on the other side. So that's another factor you have to look at is the skill and brain of Mike Brown now not being on the Warriors side, but going up against them. And also, I do think the coaches' familiarity with each other, Steve Kerr and Mike Brown, could be a factor in the series. Who's going to be better at that game of chess? Because these are two great basketball minds. They know each other well. Who's going to be able to outsmart the other? I mean, that's a big question mark. And, I think Mike Brown deserves a lot of credit because if anyone was going to give the Warriors some problems, he knows this Warriors system inside and out. He knows the personnel better than any other coach in the NBA outside of Steve Kerr. So that's another thing I think you do have to take into consideration. I don't think the Kings are overrated. I think, when you look at the regular season records, up and down the West was weak.
Yeah,
I mean, just
it
in
was.
general, big picture of the Western Conference in terms of where the records stack up compared to years past. You look at the same thing with the Warriors, as to how they got that seed when they were just, 5 games over 500 to avoid the play-in
Yeah.
compared to just last season, they would have been in the play-in tournament. So just up and down, records not as strong in the Western Conference. So I don't know that the Kings are overrated, but I still feel good. I think the Warriors can take them. I still feel confident the Warriors win the series, but I don't think the Kings are overrated. I think they're definitely a team to take seriously. And I do think that they have the potential to be disruptive for the Warriors. The Warriors have to execute and play good basketball.
All right, there you go. And want to remind people as well, the Warriors won the season series 3 games out of 4. For anyone that fears the Kings, you like you said, Kylen, you're taking the regular season into account. And Draymond Green the other day on his podcast, which he is recording weekly, and much of the detriment of a lot of people who think he should focus largely on the game of basketball. He said on one of his recent shows that when talking about the importance or lack thereof of the regular season, he brought up the 2016 Warriors, in which they won 73 games that year, and no one talks about them. And he took that as a learning experience, that what people care about the most, if that's what is a priority for someone. But if you're worried about legacy, if you're worried about being the talk of the NBA and of the basketball world, it's not the regular season, it's the postseason. Draymond also made a comment about how he doesn't get out of bed for games in March. I don't know if he was saying that, 5-10 years ago, but he's saying that now. So the question ultimately is going to be, does that metaphorical switch exist? And will the Warriors flip the switch and turn it on? And we're about to find that out. When we come back, you and I voted for the Locked On NBA Awards. I guess before we go, anything else you want to add to that? I don't want to just move on without you, without you not having.
I also want to add that I think
Yeah.
Sacramento is going to be an electric environment, the potential to be a tough place to play, depending on how many Warriors fans make the drive up. But I will say ticket prices have been outrageous. The most expensive playoff ticket from around the NBA right now, averaging $668 per ticket for game one. $668. I just read an article about this. So we'll see. But if Kings fans are able to pack that arena, that Golden One Center, I mean, that could be a tough place to play too. So I think Sacramento fans deserve some credit. They've made the Beam team, really light up this season. And I think that energy could, be a factor in games 1 and 2.
Take that beam and shove it where the sun don't shine. We'll be back in just a minute to talk about the awards. I also have to call out a couple of media organizations for just some really unethical journalistic practices in terms of taking some quotes out of context and trying to stir up some drama between Jordan Poole and Draymond Green when it doesn't exist. It was very shameful. We'll play those sound bites and explain what I'm talking about in just a minute. And again, we'll talk about the award winners that Locked On has provided us the opportunity to vote for. I mean, look, when you consider what the NBA's criteria is for their voters, our vote is just as valid, is just as credible. To put it in perspective, for the NBA awards here in the Bay Area, there's only one voter total. And the way that voter is dictated is the San Francisco Chronicle and the San Jose Mercury News. They take turns every year getting one vote from their beat reporter. And I think CJ Holmes is who's going to be voting this year. CJ is actually going to come on the show next week. That's crazy to me. I mean, who's making that decision? So basically it comes down to whoever is the hiring editor at these publications. They're the ones that get to decide who's an MVP, who's a defensive player of the year, and so forth. That to me is insane. So I think we have just as much of a say, and we had a say. So we took part in the Locked On Awards, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. First, got to give some love to one of our newer sponsors, and that is Nissan. And more specifically, they're promoting the Nissan Ariya. They're fantastic electric vehicle. And one cool thing we do every time we talk about Nissan is announce who Nissan's most electric player of the week is. Nissan's most electric player of the week is brought to you by the all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya. Kylen, you and I actually spent a few minutes before the show started trying to figure out who our Nissan player of the week is. Would you like to announce to the audience who that is?
Our Nissan player of the week is Moses Moody.
Absolutely.
Yay!
And congrats, Moses. And we did so mostly because of in 2 of the last 3 games he played in, he got minutes, he delivered. Even the second to last game, he played great, but the statistics didn't really show that much. But in that final game, a game that was pivotal at the moment, Moses Moody poured in 25 points, and he's been what's the nickname they've been giving him lately? Like he stays ready. Is that what
Mr. Stay Ready or
Mr.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Mr. Stay Ready delivered. And so congrats to Moses Moody. You are Nissan's most electric player of the week. Moses Moody also gave our show's Instagram account some love after that first big game against the Thunder, actually literally highlighting our show in one of his stories. So thank you, Moses Moody. And you can follow the show on Instagram, by the way, at Locked On Warriors. And again, Moody, just like anyone else who wins the award, was electric, brilliantly fierce, fiercely elegant. I think Moody was stunningly powerful as well, and so forth. The 2023 Nissan Ariya packs pin to your seat power and premium intelligence, all in one electric vehicle. The all-new, all-electric 2023 Nissan Ariya, the electric vehicle for people who love to drive. Shop now at nissanusa.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. For the everydayers out there, that refers to the folks who are our most hardcore fans who tune in every day. We are a daily program. We call you the everydayers. We don't have a show tomorrow, but no, actually we do. And that's going to be a post-game show with Hall of Famer Rick Barry. He's joining me immediately after the game. We're going to do a 2-parter, meaning we're going to do one show here with Locked On Warriors, and then Hall of Famer Rick Barry and I, right after that, are going to jump on the Rick Barry show. And the only way to watch that live is by downloading the Mic'd Up app. We'll go more into detail about that tomorrow. But again, join us tomorrow right after the game for Game 1 post-game. And then on Monday, Kylen, you'll be joining me again for the post-game show for Game 2. And hopefully by then the Warriors will either be up 2-0 or at least have a split coming back home in a long, arduous journey from Sacramento back to the Bay Area, a 90-mile bus ride. Let's talk about the awards. The NBA has not announced yet who the winners are for the NBA awards, but Locked On announced some of their winners. And let me get for the YouTube viewers some of the imagery here. So the Locked On Awards most valuable player was Joel Embiid. He got 24 first-place votes. Nikola Jokic was second with 10 first-place votes. Giannis Antetokounmpo was third with 5 first-place votes. Jason Tatum, Davion Mitchell, and Gilgeous-Alexander rounding out the top 6. Kylen, who did you vote for most valuable player?
I literally voted for MVP in that exact order. I voted Joel Embiid, 1. My second place vote went to Nikola Jokic, and my third place went to Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Love it. Absolutely love it. This was my vote here. If you folks can see this, I had Joel Embiid first, Giannis Antetokounmpo second, Jason Tatum I had getting third, Donovan Mitchell fourth, and then for you Kings fans, in case any of you think I'm a Kings hater, I had De'Aaron Fox getting a 5th place vote for MVP. In case you're wondering, wow, are you that much of a Nikola Jokic hater?
Yes, that was my first thought. I want an explanation.
The reason why I did that is because even if you don't get a first place vote, if you get any votes, you're getting points. And I just did not want Nikola Jokic threatening Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid to me really deserves this MVP award. And I just did not want to give Jokic any possibility of sneaking in there. So that was my strategy behind that. Am I a hater for that, Kylen, or does that make sense in any regard?
It makes sense, but I think you're also a hater.
That's fair. That's fair.
Both things are true.
All right. So moving on. Defensive player of the year. Oh, by the way, this was the voting for the network as a whole. In case people want to see the breakdown there, you can always go back to YouTube and go back. But there was my De'Aaron Fox vote right there. All right. So defensive player of the year, Jaren Jackson Jr. He got 19 first place votes. Brooks Lopez of the Milwaukee Bucks, second with 11 first place votes. Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers in just his second year already third place with 4 first place votes. Bam Adebayo at fourth. He had 1 first place vote. Draymond Green finished fifth despite getting 3 first place votes. And that's part of the reason why I didn't give Jokic a vote, was because I didn't want him sliding up despite not getting a first place vote. And then Giannis Antetokounmpo was sixth. He had 1 first place vote. How did your voting compare to what Locked On NBA voted?
Mine was very close, but I had Lopez as my first place vote, Jaren Jackson Jr. as my second, Mobley as my third, but pretty close and pretty far off. I think JJJ and Lopez, they're kind of neck and neck. I could have gone either way. So I agree with most of the Locked On voters.
No Draymond Green. No votes for you, huh?
No, I don't. See, I only had select, like, a mine, it says select 3 for defensive player of the year, first, second, third. So I picked
Right.
3.
So
But you're saying I didn't pick Draymond as any of those 3?
Yeah.
No.
That's right.
I think I had Draymond Green on the all defensive team. Like, I think he's up there. Like, if I could give a 4th and 5th place vote, Draymond would be there. I just don't think he's quite 1, 2, 3 material, but I think he's up there, and I think he's having a great season. So not meant to be a slight, but I would have him maybe 4th.
That's fair. Yeah, I had him first. Part of that was just, I think it's a
Interesting.
crime that in his entire career he's only gotten 1 Defensive Player of the Year award. And meanwhile, what's his name with Minnesota? Rudy Gobert has 3? I mean, that's just insane. So I gave Draymond Green a first place vote, partly because, again, to make up for the past, partly also because I just didn't think anyone really took command of it. Like, what about Brook Lopez made him the favorite to you?
I did some studying of the stats, and I can't remember off the top of my head. I was just trying to look it up in terms of what his numbers were. But just in general, I mean, rebounding, his defensive efficiency, blocks.
Yeah.
He averages 2.5 blocks per game. I just think he's a solid interior rim protector. And
the Bucks had the best record in the NBA.
And they're also on the best team. So I don't know.
Absolutely. No, I feel you. I absolutely feel you on that. So next, the next category, the next vote was Rookie of the Year. Paolo Banchero won that, followed by Jalen Williams. Walker Kessler of the Jazz was third. Keegan Murray fourth. Ben Mathurin of the Pacers fifth. And Jaden Ivey sixth. Who did you vote for Rookie of the Year?
Let me click back over to my voting thing. Okay, hold on. It's not in order because next I have most improved. Okay, Rookie of the Year. I had Paolo Banchero, Jalen Williams, and Walker Kessler.
Oh, there you go. Wow. Yeah, Walker Kessler. He really surprised. I mean, he was a late first round pick. He played fantastic. Talk about the Jazz and the Timberwolves. What a one-sided trade. I mean, the Jazz got Walker Kessler and all those players and all those draft picks that's insane. I mean, right now, something would tell me that if the Timberwolves and the Jazz made a deal where it was just a straight up trade of Walker Kessler I'm blanking on his name constantly tonight. I don't know why, but I feel like the Timberwolves would do that. If the Jazz were, hey, we want our old center back, we'll give you Walker Kessler. I feel like the Timberwolves would do that. It's just crazy. That was an absolute crazy trade. So I agree. I also voted for Paolo Banchero for Rookie of the Year. Other one, Sixth Man of the Year. Emmanuel quickly won that award, followed by Malcolm Brogdon and Bobby Portis third. I voted for Bobby Portis. The Bucks being the best team in the NBA played a role in that. What about you? Who did you vote for?
I had Brogdon. Who did I have? All right, now I got to click back over to it again. I voted. Who did I vote for? Okay, Sixth Man of the Year. Did you skip over? Because in our order, it had most improved as the second question.
The order of our vote and the order that Locked On tweeted
they posted it wasn't the same. Okay,
are not the same. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw you off like that.
No, I just was trying to scroll to find it. Okay, so I had Brogdon got my first place vote, Quickly got my second, and Portis got my third.
Nice. There you go. And I would have voted.
All of mine have been pretty in tune with what have been pretty close to what was voted.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's good. At the beginning of the season, I thought Jordan Poole would be a serious contender for this, but he started so many games that he kind of took himself out of the running for any major awards. Coach of the Year, I think you and I both voted for Mike Brown. He also won the Locked On NBA award for Coach of the Year. There was really no dispute there. He got 36 first place votes out of 39. Most improved player, Lauri Markkanen, won that award. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was second. Jalen Brunson third. I voted for Jalen Brunson for most improved, just because his impact on the Knicks was so phenomenal that I don't know. That was my vote. Who did you vote for?
I voted for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. See, I feel very strongly that it should have been him. Like, he literally, well, I also think he should have been an all-star starter this year. I mean, I just think for him to go from, I don't want to say like a role player, but I mean, this was his first all-star season. I just feel like the jump for Shai was huge, and he made that Oklahoma City Thunder team even a play-in team. So I felt strongly that Shai really was the most improved player in the NBA.
There you go. So those are the major awards that Locked On awarded. Sorry to be redundant. And that's also who we voted for. When we come back, I'm going to expose a couple of social media teams. That is one of the fortunate aspects of being a social media editor for an organization. Your name isn't associated. It's not at the front. So people don't really know who is making those posts. But someone with two major media organizations should get some sort of slap on the wrist for the absolutely unethical practice they did. First, I got to give some love, though, to Built Bar. Kylen, I know one day I'll mail you your package. I owe you a bunch of Built Bars. I'll surprise you someday. But look, if you're looking for a delicious snack, you don't want all the sugar and calories. That's what Built Bars are for. Because on average, you're getting 17 grams of protein. And with that, only 4 grams of sugar. And sugar is absolutely awful for you. In case you're ever wondering, why am I not losing weight? Look at what you're eating. And chances are it's probably because you're eating a lot of sugar. And Built Bars only have 130 calories. It's been a phenomenal tool for me to lose weight. I decided to finally get off my lazy ass and start working out a little bit and start trying to eat right a little bit. And one of the things I did was eat Built Bars, because every time I felt really hungry, those things with those 17 grams of protein in there packed such a punch that I felt stuffed practically afterwards. So it's a great late night snack in that regards. And you don't have to go to Built.com to order a box. You can go to Walmart. You can go to Sam's Club. They're available at both those places. Or you can still go to Built.com. And someday, Kylen, I promise, I will send you. I promise. I swear.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Kylen Mills on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Kylen Mills. Bruce Morrow, by the way, putting me on the spot.
Yeah, that's what I was laughing about. I was like, Bruce is coming.
Now I have to send you a box because this is affecting our client directly. So Bruce, good job letting a fire underneath me. I will get that package sent very soon. And yo to BJ. All right, so here's what I was talking about. So Jordan Poole was asked a question, and I'm going to share my screen here. And the question had to do, and actually I'll play the whole sound of it. But here's the sound that ESPN's NBA Twitter account had published. And this is more specifically NBA on ESPN's Twitter account. It's at ESPN NBA. They wrote in their caption, from a reporter, how much do you think the veterans created a sense of chaos? And then they write Jordan Poole's response being, quote, on the court, question mark, unquote. And the insinuation there is that was Jordan Poole asking, in other words, if the drama the reporter was referencing possibly Draymond Green's punch, because what else could he be alluding to? Here's a soundbite of what they were referencing and what was tweeted out by not just ESPN's NBA account, but also by local radio station, my former employer of almost 10 years, KNBR. KNBR did this first, and I'm actually thinking that ESPN saw that and just ran with it. So here's the clip that both KNBR and ESPN tweeted.
How much do you think that your veterans create a sense of chaos? And how much do you think you thrived in that chaos as a team?
On the court?
Yes. How much do you think that your veterans create a sense of chaos, and how much do you think you thrived in that chaos as a team? And
On the court?
yes.
Sire muted.
Thank you. Okay, and it stops right there. Thank you for highlighting that. Actually, just side note, with the Mark Jones show we did yesterday, I had to re-record the last 7 minutes because I was muted the whole time. So thank you. I'm happy you're here. So you heard the snippet, right? And you hear that, and the thought is, okay, the reporter's asking Jordan Poole about chaos, really random question. And so all you're thinking is the reporter's alluding to the chaos, more specifically involving Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. You're also thinking by Jordan Poole responding with on the court that he's wondering if the reporter's insinuating an off the court incident, right? I don't have to get too far into this for you to understand that what the misleading aspect of this is. Anything to add to that before I play the full soundbite, Kylen?
No, play the full soundbite, because I mean that's where the big difference lies when you hear the full thing in context, and that's what this is. It's taken out of context and taken out of and blown out of proportion. So let's hear the full thing.
Here is the full thing.
Reflecting back on the playoffs last year, how much do you think that your veterans create a sense of chaos, and how much do you think you thrived in that chaos as a team? And
On the court?
yes.
Yeah, for it being my first run last year, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew that the intensity would be higher. It would be a different level of basketball. But it's almost like controlled chaos. You, if anything, you feel it more than you see it. Just like how possessions matter, or play calls, or good shots, or fouls, or turnovers, or whatever it is. You kind of just feel the magnitude from just everybody, just the situation. But honestly, it's like a good feeling. If anything, you're excited, and those who like to play in the bright lights thrive in situations like that and look forward to them.
All right, one more time, just the beginning. I want to play the whole thing again. One more time. Here's what ESPN and KNBR tweeted. Wait, hold on. I got to press this button here. Okay, here we go.
How much do you think that your veterans create a sense of chaos, and how much do you think you thrived in that chaos as a team? And
On the court?
yes.
Okay, and then now here's what the full quote and question actually was. One more time, just the beginning.
Reflecting back on the playoffs last year, how much do you think that your veterans create a sense of chaos, and how much do you think you thrived in that chaos as a team? And
On the court?
yes.
Yeah, for it being my first run last year, I didn't really know what to expect.
All right, I'll stop there. Kylen, that's just shameful to me. That it's such a, it's either incredibly lazy, but then again, they had to edit that first and last part out. So KNBR did this first, and it's just, dude, find better ways. Actually focus on your content instead of trying to stir drama to garner interest. That's just embarrassing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the era that we're in. It's the clickbait. Someone mentioned it. Bruce mentioned it in the chat. It's the clickbait era. It's the era of trying to, just stir up controversy, stir up drama using headlines, using short clips, taking things out of context. It's unfortunate because it's these kinds of things that make people lose trust in the media.
Yes.
And in journalists and in, media outlets. So that's the only thing that's unfortunate to me. I think given the big picture context of the question and how it was phrased fully, and when it's clear that he's or she, the person asking the question, is referring to last season, that makes it that paints a completely different picture than asking about the veterans creating chaos. It sounds like you're talking about this season, but she prefaced it by saying last season, during however she phrased it, during last season's run. So, that just completely changes the complexion of the question, because he's talking about last season. So that is not talking about the punch, which is
Yeah.
what everyone immediately started jumping on. And what I saw in the replies, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's taking a shot at Draymond Green. He's referring to the punch by saying, oh, off the court, on the court, whatever. And I don't think that was the case. The question was asked about during the playoff run last season. And in his full answer, you can hear, I really think that Jordan Poole was just clarifying on the court, but it was referring to last year's playoff run. So I don't think he was talking about the punch. I don't think he was throwing shade. I don't think it was meant to be a slight at Draymond Green at all. I think taken out of context, taken just that short clip, it might look that way. But when you hear the whole thing, I just don't think that's what happened. Like I said, it's unfortunate that just that short clip was out there because I think it does paint a misleading picture, which was clearly done. And I don't think it was lazy. I think that it was just clearly done as a way to, stir people up, get clicks, get likes, or whatever else. But I don't think Warriors fans have anything to worry about in terms of the whole situation. That's what I wanted to mention, because a lot of people are saying, and I see quote tweeting of that, saying, oh, well, he's still upset about it. He's still bringing this up. He's still making a reference to this right before the playoffs. This team's still fractured, et cetera, et cetera. I just think the whole thing's been blown out of proportion. That's basically my take on it. That in the big picture context, when you hear the whole thing, it's not a controversial conversation. I think the question could have been worded better to begin with. It was kind of an odd question. I don't think the journalist asking it was malicious or trying to stir the pot or looking for a gotcha moment. Maybe could have been worded better, but I don't think there was anything there.
It was a weirdly worded question for sure, regardless. But yeah, and I just said lazy initially because I was trying to find an excuse for them doing this that wasn't just blatant, like just clickbait. And and the thing is, this is not the first time KNBR has done this. They did this to Connell Turno late last year, where they took just one little quote of his that was completely out of context and made it into a headline for one of their stories on their website. So come on, clean that up. I mean, it's like, and the reason why I take it personally, Kylen, and you said it best, for anyone working in the media, these kinds of acts do kind of translate to everyone. People start associating media members and journalists who actually are ethical, who try to maintain objectivity, who try to be factual, but all of a sudden, guilt by association, everyone in the media is lumped in with these schmoes who are trying to do clickbait out of context attributions, and it's just embarrassing. And not to mention that something like this, especially like you mentioned, that the replies, when you look at the two tweets and you look at the replies, it's like hundreds of people going, oh my God, Poole hasn't gotten over it. Oh, this is the drama that's going to bring down the Warriors. People eat this stuff up. No one has the time to fact check. And so people take this stuff like fact, especially when it's coming from two legacy media organizations like ESPN and KNBR. It's shameful. Please clean up your act. That is just ridiculous. Those tweets are still up, by the way. They're still up. At a minimum, delete them, please. That's just crazy. Are we done? Are we good? Are we out? So the Warriors-Kings game one. Who's going to win game one? Kylen, do you have a prediction?
Warriors.
Same. I'm with you. I think the Warriors are going to win game one.
I do.
And to any Warriors fans out there who are worried, don't be. The Warriors will win this series. I'm immensely confident. I will not guarantee a championship this year, unlike last year. I will guarantee the Warriors will beat the Kings in round one. No disrespect to the Kings. It's just this is the Warriors being that good. Kylen, I'll see you Monday night for game two's post game. So lots going to happen between now and when we meet next. I'm really excited for that. And again, Rick Barry is going to join me tomorrow for post game live after game one. Hopefully it'll be a celebration, folks. Thank you so much as always for tuning in. Prime time knocking on wood. I'll join you right there. Just be safe. All right, folks. Thank you, everyone. Kylen, thank you as always.
Good night.